All right, good morning, everybody. Seems like the rain is stopping, so we'll be in good shape here. But thanks, everybody, for coming out this morning for what is really, I think, an exciting and catalytic investment for our community here. Uh, so I want to just give a little bit of history here. So from the beginning, when my administration created Louisville Forward, we've always known that one of the most crucial elements to developing our city's economy is the thoughtful development of our built environment. And when you have an attractive built environment, that attracts good people, and that obviously helps build the whole economy. So whether it's a new construction project like the Omni Hotel or refurbishing historic buildings for a new century like Whiskey Row, we know that we've got to give our citizens and businesses buildings and neighborhoods that are attractive, interesting, functional, and built on principles of sustainability, and most importantly, they've got to be easy to use as well. And then we want neighborhoods and business districts that are also public transit accessible, they're walkable, and they make it easy for citizens to interact and find lots of options around shopping, dining, entertainment, and then most, I think importantly too, when people come to visit our city, they want to feel authenticity and character, and when they leave, they say, wow, that really had a great feeling or a great vibe to a city. Fortunately, we've got tremendous bones here, and like a project like today and other projects, you can see it's kind of putting the bones back together in a unique way that's now suited for the 21st century. So we're seeing a lot of progress and a lot of different efforts in our city. We've got wonderful momentum. We've got investment lined up really for the next 3 to 5 years, especially in the downtown core of our city, that really is going to be super exciting as all of this unfolds over the next couple years. And this project here today is not as well known, which makes it even more exciting because it's an important piece of the fabric of the geography of our city. So we're seeing a lot of progress in these efforts in many of the neighborhoods that surround Paristown Pointe. In the Upper East Broadway area, for example, we're seeing new apartments, we're seeing new retail, and Smoketown is going through a tremendous transformation right now. Metro government is working with the Metro Housing Authority, Youth Build, and other community partners to rebuild Shepherd Square and the surrounding area. And of course, Germantown has, it's been trending upwards now for several years, both as an economic hotspot, a cultural hotspot, lots of redevelopment going on there with the mills turning into new housing, et cetera. So, but today, we're here to announce a project that's in the planning stages that we think will create the same kind of critical mass of cultural and economic energy right here in the historic neighborhood of Paristown Pointe. Our goal is to significantly transform this already rich cultural map of our city. So I'm excited to announce that Paristown Pointe Preservation Trust is applying for state tourism tax credits to create a new arts and culture district. It will include a variety of entertainment and restaurants as well as related amenities that you'll be hearing more about. We have a lot planned with this project, and some other folks are going to come up here in a moment to give us more details, but here are a few highlights. Louisville Stoneware, which is celebrating its 200th year, which is really unique here in our city, will be undergoing a $6 million renovation. Goodwood Brewery plans to build a $6 million brewery and brew pub. And the Kentucky Center is planning to build a new performance space here in Paristown Pointe that will help further its statewide mission to provide on-site immersive arts experiences and resources to audiences of all ages. So think about those three things that we just talked about and how that's all going to come together to bring super energy out of this spot right here. Yeah. All told, this is a $24 million project that will be funded by the Paristown Pointe Preservation Trust, the Kentucky Center, Louisville Metro government, private donors, and as I said, the project will depend on the issuance of tax credits from the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Without those, this project will not be possible. And so we'll take questions in a moment, but right now we're going to get into a little bit more of the details. So first up, please welcome Metro Council President David Tandy. David.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, it is another wonderful day in the 4th Metro Council District, but more importantly, it's a great day for us here in the city of Louisville. One of the things that I am most excited about with regard to this particular project is that art is at the center of this economic development project. When you stop and think about it, you have the culinary arts that are represented here within this corridor. You will have the performing arts that are represented here, and you also have the visual arts. As we recognize and we see here in Louisville Stoneware, all in these great artists that will be functioning in this area and working in this area is going to bring new life back to this particular part of our community. We're starting to see now the ripple effect, if you will, of the work that's been done over some years now of revitalizing downtown, and then how that impact is starting to ripple out throughout different parts of our community. We are seeing that in the Russell neighborhood with all the work that's going on there to revitalize it. It's expanding out from downtown. We're starting to see that in Portland, in the Portland neighborhood, in New Lou, and now here at Broadway and Brent Street. And so I want to take this opportunity to commend the Paristown Pointe Preservation Trust for the work that they're doing here, and for them to know that we on the Metro Council stand ready to continue to support them in this effort. This area here in particular is unique in that it butts up against 3 other council districts, not only just the 4th district, which I'm proud to represent, but also the 8th district, which is represented by Councilman Tom Owen, and then to a certain extent the 10th district, which is currently represented by Councilman Steve Magrey. And so all of us are very excited about the work that's being done here, and look forward to doing all that we can in order to help with those street level improvements that need to be made to make this area inviting and welcoming for people to come here, and then also any other support that we can help and lend in their efforts to make sure that they're getting the state tax credits that they need as well. So again, we thank you so much for having us here, and we again applaud and commend Steve Smith and the rest of the team with the trust to get this project moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. I think you just gave Ted Mitzloff a compliment, too. Ted owns the Goodwood Brewery, and I think he just called you culinary art. I'm not kind of set me back there for a minute. So I mean, what you can see, and I mentioned it earlier, and the councilman just mentioned it as well. I mean, you can see the city really starting to move, you know, you could say from Crescent Hill and the Highlands and downtown are just all coming together now in terms of one rebuilt district. Certainly the Smoketown revival with the Shepherd Square project was a big part of this, but all these different pieces are starting to fill in so that as you move east from downtown through the Highlands, St. Matthews, et cetera, you're seeing a real increase in mixed income housing, retail, restaurants, et cetera, and then starting to move west as well. So what we need, obviously, is our economy to stay strong. People continue to move to our city. We just have a wonderful built environment with a lot of infill possibilities. And so that's what's happening right now, and that's why this project is so important. Steve Smith is one of those citizens that we have that is kind of able to jump up and see all this stuff happening where other people might take a couple extra years. And Steve is a fount of knowledge and creativity, great ideas to bring in more partners to all of his projects. He's helping us with the whole Light Up Louisville project downtown. If you've been following that the past 3 years, how it's increasing in creativity and scope every year, Steve and his team are behind that as well. So I want to thank you, Steve, for all the things that you're doing for the city. And now if you'd tell us a little bit more about this project, we appreciate it. Steve Smith.
Great. Well, first of all, welcome to Paristown Pointe. Greg and I had lunch at the cafe about 4 years ago, and he's like, what are you talking about? So this is a lost neighborhood, and one of the most exciting things about this entire project is finding the neighborhood again. In my discussions with Councilman Owen, we're not really sure. We think late 1800s is when Paristown Pointe was founded. We had the French on this side and the Germans on the other side, which is kind of, how it worked out. But it's a great project, and, the whole reason this started is because our staff at Louisville Stoneware is right over here against the wall, and I came here 8 years ago when the place was in a lot of trouble, and we have been trying to figure out all that time how to reinvigorate this historic tradition in our town. And this renovation will bring more people down to this community, will create a destination location that will help save and preserve this great American treasure. 200 years ago to this year, a young entrepreneur by the name of Jacob Lewis founded this pottery company on the banks of the Ohio. And, I always call myself the steward of Louisville Stoneware. I wake up every day trying not to screw it up, right? 200-year-old tradition in our community. But it's a great tradition. There's lots of great people and lots of great stories here. And I just want to thank Mary Ellen and her team at Louisville Forward and the mayor and KCA. We've got great partners here. And that's what this is really about. This is a lot of people coming together and working together to reinvigorate and make another great place for our community to celebrate and come down and enjoy themselves. So thank you again for everybody. Thank you for coming down today. We're very excited about participating in this project. And again, the mayor's office and everybody with the state, everybody's been great. So thank you.
So we talked a little bit about the built environment and how important this is for that, but I also want you to think about what's going on with bourbonism. Okay, so with bourbonism, we're creating our first ever annual or year-long tourism experience, and we haven't had that before. People have come to the city for specific events like the Derby or the Ryder Cup, but they haven't been able to come here every day of the year and say something's going on. So bourbonism is creating that, and as you know, that's the act of visiting Kentucky to enjoy our authentic culture around bourbon and our great local food scene at the same time. But our bourbonism tourists also want other activities to attend to. So how this fits in our whole tourism plan is also very important, as this area will be a beneficiary of that. I think the part of this project that people are going to really be blown away by will be what the Kentucky Center is going to be doing with their new venue as well. We haven't had a venue like this in the city, and as you see how the Kentucky Center performs day in and day out at the highest levels of world quality, to have a new venue here in this site and how it will inject people in this neighborhood is a tremendous benefit as well. So for this exciting announcement, more details, Madeline Abramson is going to come up, who chairs the Kentucky Center right now. Madeline?
Thank you, Mayor. The Kentucky Center for the Performing Arts has stood as an iconic presence on Main Street for over 30 years. During that time, we have presented countless world-class performing artists of all genres, hosted world leaders and dignitaries, and serve as the home to 5 of the city's premier performing arts organizations. The center historically has been involved outside the facility at 501 West Main Street. We are in the community through our outreach programs and through management agreements like the one at the Brown Theater in partnership with the Fund for the Arts. Consistent with our mission and strategic plan, the Paristown Pointe development gives us the opportunity to connect our expertise in performing arts and venue management with the new type of space desired by artists and audiences alike. The project will be a flexible, mixed-use arts and entertainment venue that will be a part of the Paristown Pointe Development Initiative. I am pleased to announce that the Kentucky Center Board of Directors, many of whom are with us today, recently voted to move forward with the planning process for this venture. And though there is still much work to be done with the developers, we are optimistic. Our intent with this project is to have positive cultural and economic impact in the way the Kentucky Center on Main Street, the Brown Theater on Broadway, and other venues do, creating opportunities for nearby businesses and on-site vendors. Ultimately, this project would further fuel economic development and tourism in Metro Louisville and provide audiences with a more diverse array of artists and programs. Thank you.
Thanks, Madeline. I appreciate that, and thanks to all the board members as well. I see a bunch of you all here, and Bruce Merrick and I have been talking about this project for a long time. Thank you, Bruce, for your efforts on this as well. So this is good stuff, the way it's all coming together here. And to tie it all together, Bob Stewart, who's the Secretary of Cabinet of Kentucky's Tourism, Arts, and Heritage, is going to come up and give us the big picture of how this all comes together. Bob.
Good morning. Well, I'm pleased to say, if you don't remember anything else I tell you this morning, the big picture when it comes to tourism in Kentucky is very, very positive. We are on a roll with tourism, both tourism development in the state as well as visitor spending in the state. Tourism in 2014, which is we annually do an economic impact report. 2014 is the most recent one that we have, and visitor spending in the state of Kentucky had topped $13 billion for the first time in our state's history, $13.1 billion. And it was in positive growth mode in every single tourism region across the state. So tourism is not only growing in the urban areas, although it certainly is growing in urban areas such as Louisville, it's also growing in the rural areas as well, which is what we like to see. But we're going to talk about Louisville a little bit this morning because there is a lot going on in Louisville, Kentucky when it comes to the growing and vibrant tourism industry. In 2014, the visitor spending in Louisville and Jefferson County accounted for just about 25% of that $13.1 billion economic impact statewide. It was over $3 billion just here in Louisville alone, supporting over 26,000 jobs in the local economy. So that's significant, and we want to keep that growing, and we want to keep it vibrant. And the way you do that is you continue to add to the tourism infrastructure that you have in the state. I think with all of the projects that are currently ongoing in Louisville and Jefferson County, the Urban Steelhouse that just opened, all the other bourbon attractions, the Bourbonism, which the mayor talks about, he's one of our best bourbon tourism promoters that we have, and we love that. But I think, and when you add a project such as this one to the array of visitor experiences that Louisville has, I think it's safe to say that we're right on the edge of an entirely new era of visitor experiences in Louisville and Jefferson County. That absolutely will have an impact on the local economy. This project is projected to draw 250,000 visitors a year, which some of them will be repeat visitors, many of them may be new visitors. And the other thing about this project that we like in Frankfort is that it incorporates the old historic with new in an established neighborhood in Louisville. And this is exactly what visitors really want. When they come to a city, they want to explore the older, more established, historic, authentic parts of the city. This has all of those elements in spades, and so we're really, really excited about it. It will showcase the unique local art, music, and culture of Louisville in a way that's authentic. I noticed the word authentic is on the wall right as you walk in the door here. Authenticity is exactly what visitors are looking for. They don't want the artificial environment. They want the authentic, the real, the historic, and that's what we'll have here. In terms of tourism development, which I mentioned previously, just during the Beshear administration, we've had 16 tourism projects come in to Kentucky because of the Tourism Development Act. Two of them right here in Jefferson County that I would mention, Kentucky Kingdom, the revitalized Kentucky Kingdom, the Urban Steelhouse that just opened recently. But Kentucky has a strategy in place through the Tourism Development Act, which allows a development to recover up to 25% of its original investment if it hits all the criteria that qualifies it. That's a strategy that was put in place in 1996. I was around when that happened. We were the first state in the country to do so. And since then, since 96, when the law was enacted, we now have over $1 billion of new investment. But just during the Beshear administration alone, we've had 16 projects which total over $307 million. I certainly hope that we add this project to that growing list. We have the application in Frankfort. The Tourism Development Finance Authority, which is a function of the Tourism, Arts, and Heritage Cabinet, will meet on November the 20th next month to consider preliminary approval for this project. If that is granted, then that will put into play the process where a consultant's report. Consultants will come in, they'll look at the project, they'll compare it with other like projects around the country. They'll give us their recommendation that yes, we think this qualifies under all of the provisions of the Tourism Development Act. We should have that report back if all goes well, which I would anticipate that it would, by early next year. So we're excited. We think that this project is exactly the type of reinvestment and new investment that we envisioned when the act was written and passed in 1996. And so it's nice to see all these many years later that the act is still working exactly as it was designed, because so many of the projects just wouldn't happen but for the existence of these sales tax rebates. So I'm delighted to be here. I look forward to coming back when the ribbon is cut and we can walk around and enjoy the music and the local culinary art that will be on display here, as well as the wonderful visual arts here at Louisville Stoneware. So thank you very much.
Well, a special thank you to Bob. Obviously, we're going to have a change of administration in Frankfurt here pretty soon, and Bob Stewart and your team have been just exceptional partners to us here in Louisville, so we really appreciate your great work. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. I also want to thank our Convention and Visitors Bureau that was part of the project and talking about how this can really amplify that aspect of our city. And then our team at Louisville Forward, when we created them about a year and a half ago, Mary Ellen Wiederwall and her team was all about helping businesses with economic development, real estate development, and workforce development too. So that's really coming together, and as Steve said, it really makes a project like this move in a pretty streamlined fashion. So good job to the Louisville Forward team. All right, with that, we'll take any questions on this project.
Mr. Mayor, if everything goes good with the state, when do you expect construction to begin?
Well, let's throw that. Steve, you want to answer that?
We still have a lot of budgets and everything. The hope in the process is if we get preliminary approval at this next meeting, we are looking at breaking ground first quarter of next year. We have all the land acquired. Ron Carmichael is our owner's rep who's dealing with all the budgets right now. We've gone through our first round of budgets and everything's getting in line. We've got a lot of agreements to continue to create with Park and you know the city and everything else. But our hope is that we will break ground before the first quarter, end of the first quarter this year.
Anything else? Thanks for coming. Thank you.
This has been a Metro TV production, a public service of Louisville Metro government.